Well, hi there, this is DBT, and alright, it's time for another En Tuk macro showcase. And I say macro because, as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, it's gonna be a weapon showcase. So before we go in there, I just want to quickly mention that the map you're looking at right now is the same map made by the Swampy Lad, and he told me that this map will be available once En Tuk releases. So at the moment you cannot acquire it, but yeah, it's gonna be out there at some point. Alright, so for the weapon itself, you know what we're doing, it's the rocket launcher. But before we start looking into upgrades and anything, first I want to say that the weapon itself, I think a couple of people noticed that in the last video the weapon looks slightly different than in all the previous videos, and that is because the weapon got resized. It was made slightly smaller so that it matches a bit better the scale of all the other weapons in En Tuk. But that was no easy task. It wasn't just like, oh, let's resize in MS Paint or anything. No, Franco had to basically redraw the weapon from scratch and re-add all the little details and everything so that it would look as good as it does now. He did a killer job as usual, so there you go. That's the appreciation for the rework on those sprites. But anyway, as far as the weapon itself, now the rocket will do exactly what you'd expect it does. But as you have seen before in previous videos, I actually changed the effects, the smoke, the trails and all of that, so that it looks a bit fancier. In Doom Eternal, usually, well, I mean, it always is just a tiny bit of smoke and a little bit of the flamey trail. In here, it's way more visible, a lot more particles going on, just so that it looks fancier, like all that spiral effect and the smoke behind it and all of that. It's a bit of screen noise if you wish, but in my opinion it looks pretty cool. And honestly, as much as I enjoy the minimalistic design in Doom Eternal, like I've said many times before, over here I'm looking to do things a bit more my way. So that's what we're doing, and same thing with D4T, where I look to have things as, you know, as performant as possible with as little particles. This is not the case in here, so I'm looking to spice up some things so that it looks prettier. So anyway, the weapon itself, you know, fire rocket, it hits, it explodes, that's it. So obviously what we're here for is to look at the upgrades. Now, the first thing we're gonna look at is the detonation, remote detonation. And as you would expect, basically you can detonate the rocket mid-air. It doesn't have to collide with anything, you just press Alt Fire and the rocket explodes. So there's not a lot to say about that, it just works. And if I may say this, it's even more responsive than the detonation that I had originally coded in D4T. So this is gonna be much more responsive. So alright, that's as far as that goes. Now I'm gonna go into GAD mode because in order to show you some other things here, I need to summon a monster, and you know, I don't want to get killed, just saying. So alright, the first upgrade to this module that we're gonna look at is, hold on, developer magic over here, the proximity flare. And you might be wondering, how the hell am I gonna notice the proximity flare when there's so much smoke and so many particles going around? In case you don't know, the proximity flare just means that whenever there's a monster near the rocket, or the other way around, the rocket itself turns blue and it does a little beep to tell you that if you detonate the rocket at that point, it's gonna deal damage to the monster. So obviously, since there's so many particles, that would be very difficult to see. So while the beep still exists, now you will notice that the entirety of the particles turn blue, precisely so that it's very visible that the monster is within range of the explosion. So that's when you can detonate it for the damage to be dealt. Now balance, don't worry about it if you see that the monster doesn't die with those explosions. Balance, as I always say, is work in progress, because Doom Eternal has a different way of handling explosion damage versus direct hits and all of that. So I really need to figure out how to balance it properly over here. But anyway, so that's the flare. Now let's have a look at the second upgrade, which is going to be the Concussive Blast. Now, if you just detonate a rocket, you see that, well, the regular rocket just has these normal effects, but when you detonate it with the Concussive Blast, you notice that white additional effect, big white explosion. And that is the secondary explosion that, while it doesn't really deal damage, it does make monster falter. And like I said, it's a way bigger explosion, so I'll show you over here. The flare doesn't activate because at this range it would not deal damage. However, it still falters the enemy because that secondary explosion is way bigger. So like I said, that is not meant for damage, that is only meant for faltering enemies, and it's a fantastic way of dealing with a room full of enemies, and more in this mod that there's gonna be so many more monsters at all times, just because that's how standard Doom 2 works. Having this is really gonna help you to create a window to escape or to deal additional damage with another weapon, or however the hell you want to deal with that. So that is the second upgrade. Now let's have a look at the third one, which is the explosive array, which is in a way the mastery. The explosive array makes it so that whenever you detonate the rocket and it's flaring up, it's gonna generate additional explosion. If you just detonate it like that, that's it, that's all it happens. However, if it's flaring up, you will notice the additional explosions that, of course, deal extra damage. So yeah, this pretty much works exactly like it does in Doom Eternal. It's really powerful. I'm glad in a way that there's additional functionality, particularly to stagger or to falter monsters with the detonation. So there you go. Hopefully this is going to be more useful. Like I said, balance is still work in progress. We'll see how it plays, because, you know, I know, you know, everybody knows that everybody will be, you know, going towards the lock-on module. So speaking of, let's have a look at that. Now, before I actually show you the module in action, I'll show you the sprites so that you can see this beauty. But as usual, I want to tame expectations a little bit. You know how I've said many times that this mod, I'm developing it in a way of things that I wish they worked in a certain way as opposed to how they do in Doom Eternal. So things don't necessarily work the same. And actually, I'll show you right now a clip of how the lock-on works in D14. In that mod, basically you activate out fire, and that's gonna go into search mode, and then when you press fire, the rockets are automatically gonna go towards the nearest target. You don't lock into any target by looking at it for a certain amount of time, and the rockets will only go for that. No, instead the rockets just do what they want by themselves. Now this is very useful, obviously, because it searches for their own target, so you don't have to be looking at much in order for them to be really deadly. But I bring that up precisely so that, and tying it up to En Tuk, on the fact that things are not gonna work like they do in Doom Eternal. You know, that's kind of how this mod works, so I just don't want you to expect to see the exact same thing. Now, I'll say, if you wanted to see some rockets that actually lock into a target by looking at it, well, you got it. So, alright, that is there. So what is this whole thing I'm talking about where it doesn't work like in Doom Eternal? I'll explain, but I just wanted to show a little bit of how we actually have proper lock into a target. Now, just to make sure, or so that you know that this is not me cheating, because there's only one target, and of course the rockets we're gonna go towards that single target. I'm gonna show you with two Mancubus, and gonna lock into one precisely, and as you can see, the rockets go towards that one target. Now, here's where the first difference from Doom Eternal comes. Once I fire these three rockets, two of them will kill it. Then there will be one rocket alive. That rocket will actually by itself search for a new target. No, actually, one rocket killed it and the other two went for the other target. So the rockets don't go to waste. Once you've they lock into one target, but if that target dies, then the rockets will, much like in D14, search for nearby targets to still affect. In Doom Eternal, the rockets, once the enemy gets killed, the rocket basically goes to waste. But in here, they don't. Now that's the first difference. The second difference, and this is an important one, in Doom Eternal, in order to start the lock, you need to be looking at a target, press Alt Fire, and then the lock will start. So that means that if you're not looking at it and you press Alt Fire, you're just gonna hear a beep and nothing will happen. In here, it doesn't work like this. In here, much like in D14, there's this search mode where you press Alt Fire and it says searching for target. And it's at this point when you can look at an enemy and it will start locking. You can cancel it at any time, and same thing even if the target is not locked. You press it, you don't find anything, you can press it again and it will cancel the search mode. Now, right now there's only a message at the bottom of the screen saying searching for target. I want to add a better visual indicator and also some sound cues to tell you that the search mode is active, so that you know that, oh shit, I'm on search mode still, let me just cancel it. But yeah, that's the search mode and how it works over here. So again, you activate it and then you look into a target, that's when it will lock. So alright, that's as far as that. Now, Something else that I did want to mention over here is that this one is more similar to Doom Eternal in a way. You don't need to be perfectly looking at the target for it to lock. Instead, it will lock so long as your crosshair is somewhat near the enemy. As you can see, I wasn't actually looking directly at him. I'm searching, and it starts locking. This is true even with smaller enemies, even fast enemies, and that's precisely what I was talking about. While D4T was developed to be played mostly, at least by me, on mobile, and that's why I made certain decisions in here, this mod is more developed with the idea of you playing with a mouse and keyboard like you would Doom Eternal. Now, just to reiterate, this mod is still fully compatible with Delta Touch, so you can still play this in mobile. And if you can play it and you can lock into targets easily, that's the more power to you. But in here, I do expect you to use mouse and keyboard, or at least a controller. But even then, like I said, you don't need to aim perfectly at the target. So long as it's somewhat near your crosshair, it will start locking. Now, the graphic that you see when the enemy is locked, that's a placeholder. That will change over time. But in the meantime, it works pretty good to show. Now, because of how this indicator is rendered via ACS, by scripting, sometimes you will see that it looks like it's at his feet or whatever, not necessarily in the middle of it. That's just a visual situation. That's kind of how it works. Because there's a lot of math involved into calculating, drawing on your screen this indicator for the position of the monster. But as you can see, it still draws even when you're not looking at it. That's the whole point of drawing it in your heads-up display. Now you will notice also that it shines bright green when he's around my crosshair, and whenever he's not, it's a bit darker. That's also on purpose. That's mostly to show when the target will be locked in. But anyway, now another difference from Doom Eternal is the fact that you don't lose target of the enemy, even if there's wall, even if you're looking at whatever, and no matter how far away you're from it. You might as well just take a teleporter, and that's still not gonna cancel the lock-on. So you could be looking anywhere you want, and the rockets there's gonna still do their thing and go towards the target. In Doom Eternal, I do believe that if you stop looking at the target or you're at a certain distance, then it loses the target, but not in this case. So there you go, that's another difference. Now I'll show you with this little debug actor that I have. I call it just a tester. It's a dumb imp. It doesn't do anything. It's just there. The main objective is to have a monster that has a lot of health. And I want to use this guy to show you. This is normal behavior, but it matters because the upgrade that I'll show you has to do with this. Once you fire the 3 rockets, there's a small cooldown, a small amount of time of a cooldown before you can lock into a new target. Oh, excuse me. So I'll show you right now. You lock, fire, and I'm trying to lock again, and that's how long it takes for it to lock second time. So that's the regular cooldown time. Now, that cooldown doesn't prevent you from firing a regular rocket. You can fire the triple rocket and fire regular rockets even before that cooldown is over. But in order for you to do, again, the lock, the cooldown needs to happen. Now, if we look at the first upgrade, and again, developer magic, is the fast reset. Now, let me have a sip of water over here. Totally professional. I've just been talking a lot, so. All right. So fast reset, what it does is that cooldown is way lower. As you can see now, I can look back into the target much quicker. That's the very first upgrade. That doesn't really affect the primary fire being able to skip a bit of that cooldown. But yeah, that's what the first upgrade does. Also, I wanted to mention that, I don't know if you noticed, but the trails and the explosions are different. I didn't want to use the spirally trail because these rockets are weaker than a regular rocket. That's just by design, even in Doom Eternal, so that it's not extremely overpowered. And I wanted to reflect that by making the rockets look a bit simpler than their normal or detonate counterpart. So anyway, that was the first upgrade. Let's have a look at the second, which is going to be the quick lock. Now the quick lock, what it does is that obviously it locks into the target super quick. Basically, you just need to look at it for a little bit and it will automatically be locked into. While the regular version, if you don't look at it for long enough, it will actually fail the lock. So there you have it. That's the second upgrade. Now, if we look at the third upgrade, you know what it is. It's the dual lock. Does that mean that you can lock into 2 targets? You bet it is. So let's bring another one of my tester little dummies. So I will lock into this dude, and as it is, I can fire my rockets. You can see that the heads-up display message, oh, I killed them. No, tester, I'm sorry. All right, let's bring it back. It's searching for a target. Then it says first target locked, searching for second target. I can look for the second target, or I can just straight up fire them in case there's no secondary target and I just need to fire this as quick as possible. So let's lock into him, and then I can lock into him. I fire the rockets and they get split between the targets. So there you have it. All of this behavior indeed is very similar to oh, you saw over there that the rockets were split. That is because I didn't have 6 rockets to fire. So what it does is that it splits the amount of rockets. It fired a couple towards this guy and 1 towards that guy, so that both still take damage from it. Let's see if I can show you again. That is just a little bit of a measure to ensure that if you really wanted to deal damage to 2 enemies, even if you don't have enough rockets to do that, you will still be able to do to deal damage to them. So let me think, how many rockets do we need? Usually you need 6 rockets for the full double lock, right? So let's do 5 rockets. So no, let's do 4. So in theory, this should either do 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. So we lock into this, into that, and there you have it. They got split. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider in the logic on how these rockets work, but anyway, they work. That's the beautiful part about it. So there you have it. That is the rocket launcher with its upgrade. I mean, with its modules, with its upgrades. And like I said, why am I summoning this dude? I should be summoning those bad dudes. Like I said, it's still a work in progress in relation to the balance. You know, if they're gonna deal more damage, gonna deal less damage, and all of that. I'm really happy with the way the weapon looks and the way the visual effects, the particles, and all of that looks. And the behavior, yeah, that's also pretty damn cool. Now there's only one. Oh, I think this guy got stuck over there. Yeah. There's just one last question that I don't know yet how to deal with. I would love your input on this one because I'm fully undecided. Once you activate the search target mode, you cannot fire the rocket. I'm pressing primary fire, nothing happens. In order to fire again, I need to cancel it. Logic says, well, if you don't have a target lock but you press fire, just fire a regular rocket, and that's where I'm split. Because what that may happen is that, well, right now I have the quick lock, so actually give me just a second. Alright, so I got the normal lock on. Let's say that I'm looking for a target. As I said, the lock can fail, right? So what if I'm trying to lock into an enemy, but I actually press fire before it finishes locking? It's gonna just fire a regular rocket while my intention was actually to fire the 3 rockets. That's why I'm not exactly sure that I want to allow primary fire while it is on search mode. That's my main you know, issue with that. I haven't fully decided, so I would love your input on what you think. Should I allow to fire a regular rocket while you're in search mode, or as it is right now that you need to cancel search mode and then fire? Now, keep in mind that I did mention that I wanted to have a audio cue, so there will be a beep. Whenever it's going in here, it will be beep, beep, beep. You cancel and it stops beeping, so that you know when you're inside and outside of that mode. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. That's gonna be it for the video, because it's already plenty long. But as you see, there was a lot to talk about on how this works. I'm super proud on everything that we achieved. Michael has helped me a lot with the locking code. Franco obviously did an amazing job with the sprites. And I spent a stupid amount of time refining all the little things that I needed and working on the detonation and all of that for it to work the way it does. But I'm really happy on how it works, and I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. So alright, that's it for now. As usual, I have to plug my secondary channel, DVT's Vrooms, where I upload any and everything related to my racing games. I'll put a little bit of a clip over there so that you know what the hell I'm talking about. Go visit it. If you like racing games, do subscribe, please. We need to reach at least 100 so that I can have a custom URL. And I'm uploading there daily. So yeah, that's your source for Vroomy stuff. But as far as this, that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you for being here, for your patience and all of that. I promise you a weapon showcase, and we have it. More monsters to be shown soon. And yeah, that's it. Again, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.